know he's the Shove It
Man! Shove It squad, by this point I'm sure you're all familiar with the Triple H Reign of Terror. Well, shove it. Don't worry, it's been covered a million times by now. We only cover the lesser known wrestling stories on this channel. I've got to give a quick shout out to Zachary Belinga over on Patreon. If you want to make the Hawk talk, sign up on Patreon today. So anyway, you want to talk about Reigns of Terror? I've got one far worse than the games, and it might shock you to know that this was going on at exactly the same point as the games. Whilst Triple H's Reign of Terror only really buried RVD, Booker T and Kane, out of the names that probably deserved better, this reign had far more casualties and was far more painful to watch. You know that feeling when you've been punched in the gut? Well, I happen to specialise in that on this channel. So, 6 world title reigns, 4 years, 1,000 guitars broken and no dimes drawn. Is Jeff Jarrett's Reign of Terror from 2002 to 2006 in TNA. And of course, shove it down in the comments section. Were you a Jeff Jarrett fan? Can you say anything positive about him? I also want to say that my personal feelings on Jeff are that he's a good heel who can hang with the main eventers. I just don't buy him as someone that they should build a wrestling company around. At least Triple H was a tier lower than The Rock and Austin overall, but Jarrett doesn't really compare to him, does he? Jarrett does put 2 guys over properly in this video in the end, but he dominated the world title scene for 4 years. So I'm not really sure it's relevant. In fact, it's pointless, just like Nep Frodwell. No one can even find that place. It surprisingly took 22 episodes for Jeff Jarrett to pick up his first world title in TNA. He's been acting like some sort of poor man's Stone Cold Steve Austin, beating up authority figures whilst being a lone wolf, and he's somewhere between a good guy and a bad guy. The champion at the time was Truth, who was the second ever NWA heavyweight champion in TNA, and the first black man to hold the belt. He's been the biggest success story of early TNA, with his fire promos, dancing, rapping and star power. I cannot understate how much Truth was on fire at this time. He certainly seemed like someone to build a company around. So during the match between the two, Jarrett was beaten and bloodied and put through a table. Then there was a ref bump. A man dressed in a mask with a white hoodie interfered in the match and broke a guitar over Truth to give Jarrett his first NWA world title. The man in the hood was then revealed to be the debuting Vince Russo.
Oh shit, it's Vince Russo! What the hell is this all about? It's Vince Russo, can you believe it?
We then got a rematch. Then there's one of the worst ref bumps I've ever seen. Then Russo comes out and hands a guitar to Jeff, but surprisingly he doesn't want the help. So Jeff won the match clean after hitting the stroke 3 times in a row without a single reply from Truth. In fact, it's impossible for him to lose any more convincingly than this. Truth was literally squashed, smashed and battered into the mat. So why should he ever get a world title shot again? Killings then attacked Russo, but during the brawl he looked like he had trouble with him. This isn't going well for Truth now, is it? I guess we could say that Truth is a guy who's already been derailed by Jeff Jarrett. Double J was now booked as the ultimate good guy in TNA and the conqueror of evil for going against Vince Russo. Jeff would be forced to compete in handicap matches and was victorious every time, whilst the Truth got battered in handicap situations. Russo seemed to be grouping together lots of wrestlers, and this would be his new SEX faction. Jarrett would be the main guy to go against them. Truth kind of became Jarrett's lackey in the war against Russo, and this completely killed any momentum that he had. Triple X were a popular act in the early days of TNA. Unfortunately, they joined Vince Russo's SEX faction. Jarrett put away the team of Daniel, Skipper and Loki in a handicap match. Daniels only lasted one-on-one with Jarrett for about 2 minutes. In fact, it was a handicap match with interference against Jarrett. Jeff could not have had the deck stacked against him anymore, but he still came out on top. Jarrett was the ultimate good guy. This was to John Cena Superman levels and it was sickening. Daniels would end up looking bad once again as Jarrett defeated him in another handicap match with 2 other SEX faction members. The world title was also on the line. This made Daniels look weak and useless. If he can't do anything in a handicap match, why would he ever be a main eventer? After making Daniels look dumb, AJ moved into the main event position. The two squared off, but there was a ref bump. 2 Nazi brothers hit Jarrett with the H-bomb, and there was also interference from a morbidly obese Vader. Jarrett even kicked out of the Styles Clash after that. That really is a move that not that many kicked out of back in the day. Sonny Siaki then ran in and hit the Siakalypse Now twice on Jarrett, but Jarrett got up 10 seconds later and hit his stroke on Styles from the top and pinned him for the 3. So Jarrett took about 5 finishers within a 5-minute period, and he still beat Styles and lived to tell the story. That doesn't exactly make AJ look good now, does it? He had help from so many guys and he still loses. So at this point the run's been going on for about 3 months, but Jarrett's also successfully defended his title against Curt Hennig and D'Lo Brown. But next up he's going to clash with the recently debuted Raven. Yes, you heard that right, Raven, a wrestler who lots of people were clamouring for to have a run at the top of the card in another wrestling company. His time in WCW and WWE didn't exactly satisfy their needs. So TNA now had a chance to give the people what they wanted. And I'm by no means a Scott Levy fan, but I can recognise what's best for business. Jarrett's still meant to be the ultimate good guy at this point, but you can definitely hear the boos starting to creep in with the crowd reactions. I'm surprised it wasn't sooner. Well, just like the last match, Raven has help from the entire roster. Then there's a ref bump, and both men boot each other in the nutsacks, because in TNA, one man getting kicked in the nuts isn't enough. He's then beaten up by 4 of the ECW originals. He then gets handcuffed, and then he gets super kick concertoed. Surely he's not going to be able to move for a week after that one. Jarrett is beaten and bloody, and he still has his hands handcuffs behind his back. Surely he's not going to be able to get out of this. Well, Raven stupidly misses Jarrett with a steel chair shot, and then he hits himself in the head with it. Like a complete buffoon, Raven then decides to unlock the handcuffs, making him look even dumber. Raven hits the Raven effect, but Jarrett kicks out. Then out of nowhere, Jarrett hits the stroke and he wins. This one was the biggest insult so far, and the crowd seemed to agree with that because some trash is chucked into the ring. More on that later. Raven literally had the match won, but his own stupidity cost him time and time again. They should have given the crowd what they wanted. TNA wasn't exactly packed with potential main eventers at the time. Raven was a good pick. Raven would get another shot not long after in a triple threat also involving AJ Styles. During the match there was a ref bump and Russo interfered in the match, smashing Jeff Jarrett with his guitar. Styles then hit the Styles Clash to finally end Jeff Jarrett's world title reign. After 7 months. Couldn't he just lose clean? Even with Styles beating him, all anyone could talk about was how Jeff Jarrett was a great champion and he didn't deserve to lose. Styles and Russo kept delaying the rematch though. AJ held that belt for a bit before Jarrett won it back in October 2003. Jarrett's now a heel, so at least we don't have to watch the Goody Two Shoes routine. There's sort of a ref bump and Jarrett nails AJ with the belt to regain his title for the start of his second reign. In the rematch in December, there's lots of people trying to interfere, and then there's a ref bump. Then there's even more people interfering, and during the confusion, Jarrett nails Styles with his guitar conveniently just as the referee wakes up to count the 3. Jarrett now has a stupid dramatic entrance video of a map of the places all over the world that he's probably going to sell fake gold to in the future. 3 months on, and Jeff has his next challenger that probably deserved better than a Jeff Jarrett burial. It's Apollo. Jeff Jarrett tries to use his guitar, and Mike Tenay stops him. Yes, you heard that right, Mike Tenay stops him. Why doesn't Tenay just challenge for the world title? He seems to be the only one that seems to be able to affect Jeff Jarrett. I spoke too soon. He smashes Apollo in the head with the guitar. Next up to get hit with the guitar was Braden Walker. Hang on, this video is supposed to be about the potential stars that Jarrett buried. Well, back in 2004, Chris Harris was considered to be a future main eventer. And because of this, TNA management would occasionally pull him out of his AMW team with Storm to test him in the main event waters. This one would have a massive build-up, with Jarrett mostly mocking Harris and telling him that he didn't belong in the main events, and telling everyone that Harris isn't ready. He also got a big endorsement from Vince Russo. At this point, we're 5 months into Jeff's reign, so to say that the fans wanted Harris to win the belt is a massive understatement. Yeah, the match went pretty much as expected. Ref bump, about 1 million run-ins, and Jarrett ends up smashing the guitar over Harris's head. After all the constant promos about Chris Harris not being a proper main eventer, Jarrett proved himself right. Jarrett's second reign was finally ended by who else but AJ Styles, who kicked his stupid guitar away. That second reign went on for 6 months. But I bet you're thinking, this doesn't sound that bad so far. Well, the official Reign of Terror is next, and I think I'm going to be sick. Styles would drop the belt to Truth after a cup of coffee. Don't get too excited, Truth was not viewed as a main eventer anymore at this point, and he only won the belt for the second time because of lots of help. These short title reigns would lead to a huge King of the Mountain main event match. Jarrett had come back from 2 months on holiday, so bear in mind this is his first match since he lost the title. This match might as well have been dubbed the Battle of the Jarrett Jobbers. It's Chris Harris versus AJ Styles versus Raven versus Truth versus Jarrett. No one in the crowd cared about any of the guys apart from Truth. Truth is about to win the belt, but Jarrett hits him with a guitar on top of the ladder. and Jarrett is champion once again. Even the belt hanging device was against Jarrett winning the belt again. For those of you who don't like Vince Russo, which is probably most of you, here's a Vince Russo moment that we can all relate to. Jarrett's third reign starts out with him finishing off Ron the Truth killings. Ref bump, guitar shot. Wait, Truth makes the guitar shot. Truth makes the cover and pins Jarrett. But afterwards Russo gives the belt back to Jarrett. Truth gets another shot at Jarrett's belt, but they change the formula up again. And this time Ken Shamrock hits Truth with a guitar, and Jarrett is still the champion. I hope you enjoyed Truth in the main events, because you won't see it again. Jeff Hardy had now rocked up in TNA. You'd think with Hardy's star power and the push that TNA gave him in the Hulk Hogan era, we could expect to see the belt change hands here. No, not yet. In the first Jarrett vs Hardy match, the ref is distracted for the dumbest reason ever. Russo and Dusty Rhodes are arguing with a baseball bat, and the bat gets put in the ring. The wrestlers are then clearly trying to hit each other with it, but the referee just says, nah, I need to see what Vince Russo and Dusty Rhodes are arguing about. Oh, by the way, guitar shot, 1, 2, 3. Their second meeting was a Jeff Hardy special. It's a ladder match. So you think Hardy might win here because it's his specialty? Well, he still can't win because Kevin Nash debuted with TNA. Him, Scott Hall and Jeff Jarrett would hit Hardy with 3 guitars and Jarrett is still the champion. I can't believe people were actually paying to watch this. But hold your hawks, it's about to reach peak terrible. Jeff Jarrett's next challenge for his title is Monty Brown. Remember him? Monty was an example of a wrestler who had stuck with it and had been naturally elevated by the fans. He was the new guy in the main event scene. The fans loved his promos and his pounce finisher. Well, we got to see the pounce on Jarrett, and also on Hall. But I guess it didn't hurt Jarrett too much because 10 seconds later, Jarrett got up in the ring and smacked Monty with a steel chair, and of course Jarrett retained the belt against him. The Alpha Male got a rematch at Final Resolution 2005. There was a ref bump. Then Jarrett hit Monty with the guitar, but Monty kicked out. Monty gets Jarrett on his shoulders, but then Jarrett hits him with a chair. Monty falls back with Jarrett on his shoulders, and Jarrett crashes into the mat. But somehow, Double J is making the cover on Monty 2 seconds later. How does that not even damage him? Jarrett hits him with the belt, but that doesn't keep Monty down. It was really starting to look like it would be the night of Monty Brown. Then there's another ref bump. I wish I was making this up. Monty hits Jarrett with the guitar and the crowd are on their feet expecting this new champion. But Jarrett kicks out. Oh come on, that's finished 99% of guys off. What is he, superhuman? Jarrett hits 2 strokes, a kick to the slash zone and a 3rd stroke to finish Monty off. Yes, it made Monty look strong in defeat, but if you wanted to protect him that much, why not, have him win? Monty then killed his TNA career and turned heel to shine Jeff Jarrett's shoes. They completely wasted him. By now, most Jeff Jarrett matches were accompanied by chants of drop the belt. My prayers were finally answered when he had a match where he was banned from using the guitar. He got around this by using a cello. Oh god, kill me. Then the handle snaps off and he can't use it anyway. This was the highlight of a largely forgettable match against Kevin Nash. It had been 11 months at this point. Jarrett squared off with longtime rival AJ Styles at Hard Justice 2005. Tito Ortiz is the special referee. Remember him? He would have a big future in TNA standing around with his arms folded in Texas. Well, you can thank Tito Ortiz for ending Jeff Jarrett's reign of terror. He was the only one who finally delivered the knockout punch to keep Jarrett down. This was an incredibly hollow victory for Styles. It felt like Tito had been the one who won the match, but at least Jarrett isn't the champion anymore. Fast forward 4 months and Jarrett is champion again. You've got to be kidding me. For God's sake, this time he beat Raven, who was the champion, but it wasn't even televised. Way to go, Raven. They were just about to go onto Spike TV, and Jarrett most likely thought that he'd be the best champion for their debut show on the new network. I think he was wrong. In the most shocking moment of this video, Jarrett then dropped the belt to Rhino. He almost kicked out the gore. The gore is supposed to basically rip you in half. What the hell is wrong with him? Why is he getting his shoulder up immediately after? Jeff Jarrett got his rematch against Rhino. Oh god, I don't like where this is going. Rhino's been elevated into the main events, but not for long. Rhino holds the belt for 2 days. Jarrett beats Rhino to start his 4th reign. This is despite the crowd loving everything that Rhino did. He didn't even need a guitar to beat Rhino, which I guess makes a nice change. So I guess that makes Rhino the worst out of them all. It's so frustrating. How many run-ins are there in every Jeff Jarrett match? It made it so hard to suspend disbelief. Why doesn't the TNA management just say, in every Jeff Jarrett match there'll be no interference or you'll be fired on the spot. There'll be no guitar use, otherwise the person who uses it will be fired on the spot. I guess I'm putting too much thought into it. I don't know, I'm just a stupid bird with a Hulk Hogan face smashed on top of it. Rhino does get a rematch, so in the best out of 3 match, the referee is knocked out. Team Canada interfere and Jeff Jarrett hits the stroke into the chairs. The crowd genuinely wanted Rhino in the main event. It's a damn crime. Rhino wouldn't even sniff the main event again after this. By the way, at this point, Monty Brown is still hanging around with Jeff Jarrett, wishing he hadn't made such bad choices in TNA. Well, now we're in 2006, and it's against all odds. Christian has finally rocked up in TNA. It's over. The champ is here. Christian knocked Monty Brown out of the #1 contender spot, and then Christian beat Jeff Jarrett for the title. Jeff is finally going to step aside and let someone else boss the main event scene. Look at all the happiness in the audience. And isn't that the point in wrestling though, to entertain the crowd? We finally got a payoff to the Jeff Jarrett reign of terror. 4 years and we can finally end this depressing video. What do you mean there's one more reign? No there's not. Hold your beaks because there's one more wrestler who's going to suffer from Jeff Jarrett's time in the spotlight. Well, at Slammiversary 2006, Jeff Jarrett won yet another King of the Mountain match, this time under extra suspicious circumstances. The crowd finally had enough of seeing it. They pelted him with bottles and they forced Jarrett to run from the ring. This was a culmination of 4 years of Jeff Jarrett being shoved down the TNA fans' throats. They couldn't take it anymore. I have never seen a TNA crowd react so angrily. It's like something out of ECW. Just the 4-month reign for Jarrett this time. He mostly feuded with Sting, although he did have time to devalue Samoa Joe. In their only singles match to this point, Joe beat Jarrett on pay-per-view, but for some reason Jeff's title wasn't on the line. This was 2006 and Joe was at his hottest. Would it have killed Jeff to, put the belt on Samoa Joe? Samoa Joe wins the match with 0 shenanigans and he beats Jarrett fairly easily, but it's all completely meaningless because Angle debuts the next night, so this made it harder for guys like him and AJ to be on top of the company. Jarrett's reign of terror is finally ended for good at Bound for Glory 2006 after Sting no-sells the guitar. Way to make all those other guys who took the guitar shot look so weak. Jarrett tapped out to the Scorpion Deathlock. No more titles for you, Jarrett, thank God. So let me know down below what you thought. Which wrestler suffered the most from Jeff Jarrett's reign of terror? Was Jeff right to push himself so hard in his company as the top wrestler? Who would you have liked to have seen beat Jeff Jarrett for his title? Shove all those answers down in the comments. But for those of you who enjoyed Jeff Jarrett being unstoppable, shut up or I'll put you in hospital.